Good evening and welcome. My name is Connor Duffy.
And I'm Tyler Lapham.
This is the news on Channel 420.
Tonight we uncover the events of the Pacific War and what led to the downfall of the Empire of the Rising Sun.
Stay with us as we recap the events leading up to this devastating bombing. Up next. We see the beginnings of Japanese imperialism in the mid-19th century. Coming from a mainly feudal society and isolated from the world, the treaty port system was signed in 1858 to allow Japan to create ports and grow from their feudal society into a more Western imperial empire. Stemming from this, a new constitution was formed. However, unlike the USA, their constitution does not put the power in the hands of the people. An emperor was put in place to control Japan. The first of these emperors, Prince Ito, felt the American government system was flawed. He believed in a government run by emperors who had unlimited power over the people, very similar to the other imperial nations of the time.
Armed with their new political power, Japan started their conquest for smaller Asian countries. Their first conquest was the Sino-Japanese War, fought between China and Japan in 1894 to 1895 for control over Korea, proving themselves to the world. Japan's nationalism rose among the people while aggravating America due to the new Japanese imperialistic policies, which included Japan demanding trading privileges and large sums of money from China for their peace. Japan's imperialistic government was to grow, looking to control land beyond their current borders, such as Manchuria and Russia. From this brought the Black Dragon Society, who were an extremely nationalistic group of people who advocated Japanese domination. This movement would sweep across the nation, putting the Empire of the Rising Sun on a mission.
In the 1930s, the Black Dragon Society quickly infiltrated the Japanese government, with organization leader Uchida Ryohei leading the Imperial Army. Ryohei would convince Japanese politicians, either by words or by force, to support Japanese imperialism. In doing so, Ryohei and the Black Dragon Society took control of Japan and led them on a warpath. With the Black Dragon Society in complete control over politics, industry, and military, their Japanese imperialistic plans were in place. The Empire of the Rising Sun's fate was sealed in the early 1930s when a member of the society named Enukai Tsuyoshi was named the Prime Minister.
Under the Black Dragon Society, Japan was beginning to resemble a Nazi Germany. Homes were put into groups of 10 and ruled over by headmen much like Nazi bloc leaders. Programs were then implemented in schools to raise children to believe in the destiny of Japan. Much like the other axial powers, Japan had been corrupted by a single group of people, the Black Dragon Society, who wanted global power. Because of the imperialistic agenda of the Black Dragon Society, Japan's economy had been turned to war and producing weapons for domination.
From the 19th century to now, we can see the increase of nationalism in Japan due to the influence of the Black Dragon Society. Imperialist Japan channeled this pride and directed it towards expansion and world power. The next step was to attack Pearl Harbor.
But first, a message from our sponsor.
Red Alert 3 Uprising, Empire of the Rising Sun. Download today to experience this multiplayer strategy-filled video game. Build your empire, trade with friends, engage in epic battles, and dominate the globe. EA Games. You know what a video game is?
No,
I have no idea. Does anyone know what a video game is? No?
Anyone?
No.
Anyone? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our Pacific War recap. Let's get right back into it. Since the beginning of their imperialistic movement, because of their actions with China and them joining the Axial Powers in 1940, America had tensions with the Japanese Empire of the Rising Sun. Washington feared that Japan might try and loosen its ties with America. To try and stop their growth, the USA placed trade embargoes on Japan. Later, the NIE National Intelligence Estimate opinioned about not giving adequate weight to the importance of Japan in the next coming years.
On December 7, 1941, Japan, eager to increase their power, sent a surprise attack of 500 Japanese bombers to invade the American naval base in Pearl Harbor. They killed more than 2,000 Americans and severely damaged the American naval fleet. The Japanese bombers, called kamikaze pilots, went on these suicide missions to display their loyalty and faith to their empire engraved in the Japanese troops from a young age. This Japanese surprise attack immediately caused Americans who were previously anti-war to overwhelmingly support American involvement in World War II. With the Americans now in the war and their sense of nationalism at a peak, the Japanese Empire of the Rising Sun had a true threat on their hands.
Tensions between America and the Japanese continued as the U.S. declared war immediately after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. We see the determination of Japan's conquest in battles such as the Battle of Midway and Iwo Jima. The Black Dragon Society running Japan was determined by any means necessary to expand their land and achieve their destiny as a world power. The U.S. soon had to come to a controversial decision on what they would do on the topic.
Even after the defeat of other axial powers, the military-driven Japanese Empire vowed to fight to the end. However, on August 6th and 9th, the United States dropped the first 2 atomic bombs the world had ever seen on the 2 Japanese cities, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, devastating the Empire of the Rising Sun and killing tens of thousands of people. The nuclear attack, codenamed the Manhattan Project, was a top-secret mission by Allied forces to drop nuclear bombs Little Boy on August 6th and Fat Man on August 9th on Japan. Although putting the lives of the innocent at risk and causing mass destruction to Japan, our leaders took the necessary means to end the bloody World War. Just days later, Emperor Hirohito of Japan announced the surrender of Japanese forces, thus ending the war between Japan and America. This brings us to today, as America, along with other allies, work to reform and rebuild Japan. They will work to ensure that the militarization of Japan will not happen again, as well as to protect the people from being under the control of an emperor.
The imperialistic empire of the Rising Sun was a result of a massive increase in national pride stemming from a select group of individuals. They gained control over the government and sought to pursue their dreams of Japanese expansion and domination. Their ideals and plans posed serious threats to not only the United States, but many smaller countries surrounding Japan. While the war in the Pacific led to an unfortunate end for the Empire of the Rising Sun, it ultimately led to the termination of a true threat to social justice and American ideals, as well as an imperialist nation ruled by dictators who eagerly sought control over everything. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the ending of our show where we predict the most accurate predictions of the future at almost 100% accurate. I believe that this war will end with some sort of treaty, maybe named after a famous city. What do you think?
I think you're right. I'm going to go bold. I'm going to say April 28th, 1952, the Treaty of San Francisco. I just have a good feeling. We're on a 100% accuracy rating. I have a good feeling about that. 4 years later, I'm going to predict Soviet Union and Japan, they're going to sign the Soviet-Japanese Joint Declaration of 1956. By those exact terms, look back in 4 years, see if we're right. You can come back to this show right here, watch this video. Long-term effects. Scientists are now predicting the radioactive materials emitted from these nuclear bombs are going to have serious, long-lasting effects on the Japanese community, as they're going to affect generations to come of Japanese citizens.
Yep, that sounds about right. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here, folks. Have a good night.
Good evening and welcome. My name is Connor Duffy.
And I'm Tyler Lapham.
Welcome to the news on Channel 420. Damn it! From the mid-19th century to this point, we see the overhaul of nationalism in Japan due to the Black Dragon Society's influence.
Jesus.
From the mid-19th century to this point, we can see the overhaul of Japanese nationalism, and they directed this channel, and they pride in the channel.
I don't want to.